Good morning. Thank you very much for joining our webinar. Please note that during our webinar, we'll be using audio broadcast. The small box in the right-hand corner will need to remain open throughout. To chat to the host, just click on the speech bubble in the top right-hand corner, then type into the text box. To submit a question, click on the question mark in the top right-hand corner and open the Q&A box. If you do experience technical difficulties, please email us at marketing or speak to us directly through the chat bar. I will now pass you on to our presenters for today, Simon Johnson.
Hi, good morning everyone. So my name is Simon Johnson. I'm a digital transformation consultant, and I'm here today to talk to you about software development. I'm here today to talk to you about some of the risks and concerns within software development and how it's been used in the industry. But more importantly, I'm here today to talk to you about that software development really is a digital platform. It's considered to be a digital strategy, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a single piece of software or a single item. It's actually viewed and should be considered as a much broader solution to a company. So firstly, I'll give you a bit of an overview about Capita IBS, Capita Integrated Business Solutions. We're part of Capita PLC, and if you know Capita, we're within the DSS division. For 40 years, we've been experts in designing, developing, delivering and supporting complex pieces of software. Some of these are large-scale applications, some of these are low-cost and small-scale pieces of software. But ultimately, for 40 years, this is what we've been doing, and we've become an expert in this. As an organization, we've got over 200 staff, and something that we're very proud about is that we have over 150 of those staff being technical. Now, the reason why we have so many technical staff is because we have an end-to-end in-house resources. So a lot of the work that we do is the front-end consultation, business analysis, process documentation, process mapping, and then that leads us through to our different resources who then do the implementation, and then furthermore, our resources that then do the final support and post-management as well. So we're quite self-sufficient, and we have sufficient resources in place to take customers through the entire journey from start to finish. As mentioned, we actually own 100% of the software that we design and develop, and this is a really big thing when we start to talk about some of the risks around software development and its use in the market. As part of Capita, we've worked on some huge, large-scale projects, and towards the back end of the presentation, I'll explain about some of our references. But one of our most recent awards was working with Southampton Council, where we were awarded Digital and Technology Project of the Year 2016, which is quite amazing. As mentioned, our expertise is understanding and supporting businesses through a software-based digital transformation, and that's what we are experts in. So let me start by just highlighting that software development in many ways is like a tailor-made suit, if you like. There's a lot of risks associated with tailor-made suits. Well, why would you buy a tailor-made suit when you could buy a COTS-based solution or a COTS-based suit that actually you can get off the shelf? It's much cheaper, we all know that. A COTS-based solution you can buy in store, so therefore you can pick it up the same day, collect it the same day. Tailor-made suits, that's definitely not the case. And also, when we look at tailor-made suits, there's an element of risk. We have to talk to them about your design, your ambitions, what you're trying to achieve. They have to go away and build it. And I think with COTS-based suits, you can pick it up there and then, try it on. If it fits, great. If not, you go to a different shop and you try a different suit. So we fully understand that there's a lot of negative connotations around software development. However, what's really interesting is when we look at the stats around the use of software development. Actually, software development is one of the fastest growing industries with a growth rate of 7.1%. And when we look at other industries, next behind is the IT industry with 6.6%. Furthermore, we've done some research to identify that over 78% of businesses actually use bespoke software or some form of open source software to deliver a part or core or all of their core business services. And that's absolutely staggering when we've just talked about the negative connotations around software development, the risks. But as we can see, that nearly every single business is using software development. And I think that's something that we definitely want to go through today to talk about the reasons why software development actually is being used. So when we have done some research, we've looked at the different types of software development projects in the market. And what we find is that software development can deliver certain values and certain value propositions that really cost-based solutions cannot do. And hence the reasons why we're still seeing software development growing, we're still seeing software development being used in organizations. What we can do is we can use software development to consolidate multiple applications down to one. This is really interesting because if we have legacy applications that are no longer supported, they have niche functionality, and therefore we have to keep it in the back office, just that one piece of functionality. What we can do is we can use software development to outline what those applications are, what those features are, and we can design and build a piece of application or a software to supersede multiple applications. Naturally, there's huge benefits associated with that, the operational overhead, the performance improvements, and also the risk. We no longer have to have 10, 15 legacy applications. We can just have one application. For some businesses, superseding or replacing existing applications may not be necessary. In fact, they may be all legacy applications that we've simply got to use. And that's absolutely fine because, again, software development has a really custom design for APIs and integration into different applications, which means that we can use software development to integrate multiple applications together. And this, again, really opens the door to huge levels of benefits. When we try to integrate, for example, a CRM system with HR system or with a contact center, for argument's sake, these are very common software development and integration solutions that we've done in the past and we see in the market. As you can just think about the benefits of the user journey where they go into a portal or a CRM, type in their details, and that brings up their payment history, how many invoices they've sent or how many bills they've missed. You can see how that would improve customer service just by integrating a number of back office systems together. The next thing, what we see is we can use software development to actually enable a business to perform better through digitizing its customer experience. The amount of times we see a customer journey where they will go online to make a request or fill out an application form, but it ends there. What they want to know is, has that been picked up? What's the next stage? Can I ask for help? And in order to do that, they simply cannot gain access through a self-portal, if you like. So they have to pick up the phone, which then costs time. It costs staffing resources for people to be in the contact center. So what we're finding is a lot of organizations are looking to use software development to digitize their services and make it easily accessible by the user. This means that no matter where they are, they could be in the field, they could be at home, they have the opportunity to use an application, if they like, or a portal to access core services at their fingertips without, as I was saying, the needing to pick up the phone and make inquiries or send an email, for argument's sake. One of the most exciting projects that we work within is called Transform. Transform is a form of software development whereby we take an entire customer journey from start to finish. In most cases, this is a department, for argument's sake, a planning application department, a claims department, whatever it may be. And we follow the customer journey and we map out the processes from start to finish. How many times did he have to go through a gate? How many times did that person have to make a phone call? What applications? And once we've understood the processes from start to finish in order for that customer journey to be completed, we then look at using software development to automate or streamline that customer journey so that it becomes much more efficient. They use less headcounts, and therefore there's lots of implications and errors that we try to supersede by automation or re-engineering of processes. And again, that can be done through software development, and it's something that cost-based solutions simply cannot. We've learned in the market that process automation or desktop automation or AI robotics is the next big trend, and we can see the benefits of that. However, in the recent months, we've seen a huge influx of queries whereby we can try to put in place software development to collate and retrieve data from all different parts of the business. The reason why is because robotic automation or desktop automation automates data and people. If the data isn't available and it's not usable, then therefore the benefits aren't as vast. And we can use software development to help a business innovate and become better. There's some really good examples here. We once worked with a council who was looking for their garden waste solution, and we helped them put in place a GPS tracking system in their vehicles that then integrated into a piece of software that automatically looked up the addresses of the people that the collection was going out to, and it automatically sent out notifications to the residents saying that your bins will be collected or delivered at a specific time, and that was part of the GPS tracking system. That was all autonomous, and it meant that they could give exceptional levels of customer service. So we've talked about the use of software development, how the majority of businesses use software development or open source software, and we've seen a number of reasons why. But actually, this is not a pleasant fact, and apologies for bringing it to your attention, but one of the major concerns that we see is over 60% of software development projects fail. It's not great to admit, and there's a number of reasons why, and hence why there's lots of negative connotations surrounding software development. What we've found, actually, is the most common reasons why software development projects fail is because software development is actually undervalued in a business. It's seen as a small piece of software to fix a problem, and as such, many organizations use in-house developers to try and download some application or try and do it themselves. They don't have the time, the resources, or the expertise to really meet the requirements of a business. And as such, those in-house developers just try and fail, and that costs more money. What we also found is sometimes organizations will not do it in-house. They may go externally, but they'll go to an external company that specializes in software development, but without the ongoing support, management, or hosting of that piece of software. And this, again, is really bad, because what we find is small organizations where they have 4 or 5 developers building a unique piece of software from scratch, and naturally that comes with a huge level of risks. It may meet your requirements from day one, but actually as your business grows and changes, is that business going to be there? Are they going to be able to support the business in terms of support requirements? And hence why, again, we're seeing a lot of software projects fail. What we also see is that there's no clear documentation or scope of works requirements, i.e. for one part of the business they will ask for a piece of software, but they haven't really understood the size of the organization, what interactions that software will need to access. And as such, those developments and those software development projects fail because when they're trying to elevate throughout the company and interact with different parts of the business, whether that's HR, whether that's finance, there's automatically pushback because they haven't been involved in the project from day one and they feel like they've been missed out. And that, again, causes huge problems and risks when we look at software development projects. Furthermore, we see a number of other issues around software developers who don't have templated pieces of software or modules. They ultimately write the software from scratch. And again, I think this really emphasizes the risks around software development in the respect that if you were to go to an external company and they were to design the software from scratch, there's a lot of risks associated. It's new software, it's new coding, there's going to be a lot of failures, and as such, that has a detrimental impact to the business. And finally, one of the most common reasons why we see so many projects failing around software development is because they try to deliver the entire piece of software and all of its glory immediately up front in a big bang approach. It's not phased. And again, this causes huge levels of interference in the business. It causes huge levels of distractions, And again, it's quite disruptive to any organization, big or small, as this software or piece of software tries to go live and it has major implications onto the business. So looking through our research and spending a lot of time working with different clients in private and public sector, large organizations and small, we've identified some of the areas that we just spoke about in terms of some of the main reasons why we see software development failing. And what we've done is we've put together a strategy that we believe will mitigate a lot of the risks, and that's around what we like to call a building block approach. You see, in our world, software development, as I was saying before, isn't a single piece of software. It becomes a digital transformation platform, if you like, that grows and flexes and changes and adapts with the company. As such, we can use this digital platform as the foundations, if you like, to the business. And if you look at the presentation, the bottom left-hand corner, our first recommendation to anybody that's looking to embark on software development really is not to do everything right at the start, to look at phasing it out over 2 or 3 different phases. And from our recommendations, the best approach is the first phase, which is to use software development as a core integrator and to ultimately leverage existing platforms and systems that's already in place. Let's not go in there and rip everything out. Let's not start again. Let's not cause problems. The first thing to do is to use a software platform or a digital platform, which we call our E-Series framework, as an integrator. And as I was saying, that brings in data, that brings in different application, and ultimately brings the business together across the entire organization. And through that, it will actually help the business perform better because there's high levels of visibility of data across the company as a starting block. The next phase, what we can do is use pre-packaged components or applications, if you like, to then add on to that digital platform. So there's a couple of examples I've put on the screen here: an online portal, a database, automation, for argument's sake. And what this means is, as we're going through the phases, we can start to simplify existing architecture and data down to a single source. So ultimately, this digital platform becomes the single source of data, the single truth of data, if you like. And through that, we can then start to consolidate features. So where we start seeing multiple legacy applications that all have similar features and similar services, but they're all still live because they support different parts of the business. By going through this phase approach, we can start to consolidate those applications, services and features down to a single platform. And again, the major part here is that we're not looking to impose risk. We're not looking to make huge disruptions. It's about a steady phased approach of simplification, consolidation, and using technology to automate the business as well. And again, through that phased approach, it could be a year, it could be 2 years. What we find is we're gradually increasing the operational efficiency of the business. We're gradually providing levels of cost savings, and we're actually providing more of a centralized approach to the business. The final stage, if you like, and I mentioned that there's never really an end to a digital transformation platform or a digital platform, is really what we like to try and get to, which is our aspiration. It's an end-to-end customer journey. If you can imagine a portal which is self-service but has access to all of the core applications within the business, that allows a better insight for the customer, where they can go online, they can access their documents, their materials. For argument's sake, there'll be automated notifications from different parts of the business. If they wanted to raise a complaint or access any information, again, they have all of that information at their fingertips, which means that they are empowered to do what they want, when they want, and most importantly, where they want. They could be out in the field, they could be looking at their mobile phone. This means that they don't have to wait for you to get back to them over the weekend. They don't have to pick up the phone, which is quite annoying sometimes. So through these levels of integrations, we can bring the business together and deliver an end-to-end customer journey. And we've found that through that experience, that self-empowerment experience, we've found that customer service satisfaction levels have massively increased. And we've also found that businesses actually perform better, they're better received in the business, and they gain a better or a high level of a competitive advantage because they're doing something that their competitors cannot. I go back to the example that I used about the council, whereby they wanted to integrate the GPS in their vehicles. That was something that no other council had thought of, and it was something that they wanted to do to become the leader in that particular area. And this is a great example about doing a phased approach, whereby you're looking at the end-to-end customer journey and you're bringing in data and information at the user's fingertips. So one of the big questions that we get asked is around software development and how do you actually start it. I think one of the biggest things that we find is a COTS-based solution. Everybody knows that they want a specific application. They want a document management system or they want a CRM system. So software development sometimes doesn't come with names because it's multiple services as I've just outlined. So one of the ways that we've supported organizations, and again, this is quite unique in the business, as many different organizations ask for a scope of works up front and they expect you to run the project yourselves. But our approach in terms of trying to mitigate risk is to be engagement and consultative from day one. Our approach is actually on the first day is to spend time with yourself, the different department heads, to understand really what is the business trying to achieve. Are you trying to achieve cost savings? Are you trying to consolidate the business, therefore reducing headcount? Are you trying to grow the business in certain areas? Are you trying to access a different type of user, for argument's sake? And once we've understood the business's requirements, we can then start to look at the existing landscape and the footprint. This is where it gets really interesting because we can start to look at what does the customer journey look like. I go back to an example that I mentioned before about a planning application. Well, how does the customer raise a planning application? Well, they go onto this form. What happens next? Well, we print it out and we do A, B, and C. So we can map out the entire process from start to finish, and that even includes follow-ups, the internal actions, how a job is completed, what happens once it is completed, what are the notifications, feedback, and updates from that. So the entire journey. And behind that journey maps the actual software assets, the hardware, the people, the time associated with those processes, and also intangible costs as well. How many times are there errors? What happens if there are errors? Are there any penalties? What about duplications? So what we do is we work with yourself to really map out the existing landscape, what it looks like, the costs associated with it, and then we sit down with yourself to confirm that those details are correct and that you're comfortable with exactly what's been put in place at the moment in time. And so the reason why we do that is because sometimes it's quite an alarming fact when you look at all of the intangible costs and the implications associated with some of the customer journeys and how they're currently delivered at the moment in time. The next stage is we go through an opportunity validation. We identify what does the future look like, and we take a note from our initial meeting where we try to look at what does the ultimate objective look like. And we start to design a solution or a way forward. Again, trying to mitigate risk, what we try to do is look at a phased approach. So what we try to do is look at a solution design, if you like, and we look at the costs associated with that solution design. We look at the benefits associated with that. What are the performance improvements? How many FTEs, for argument's sake, could we reduce? Or, for argument's sake, what are the benefits around the automation of services? And once we've spent time working together to build a solution, we can then do a comparison. Ultimately, we can create a business case to say, this is the current situation of your organization, this is the landscape, this is the customer journey, and these are the costs. And based on what we've learned, here's what a new solution could potentially look like, and it could be phased out over X number of years or months, whatever works best for yourself. And more importantly, these are the commercial benefits. And from our experience, taking this consultative phased approach, we interact with various stakeholders within your organization, not just from a technical perspective, not just from a project perspective, but right through from analysts through to senior executives, so that everybody understands the challenges that you currently have, what the customer journey looks like, but most importantly, what does the future look like? And again, we make sure that we're trying to join up the dots between what your business is trying to achieve and the benefits about what the solution will deliver. I think a big thing that we've learned, going back to some of the reasons why software developments tend to fail, is because a lot of software development projects will receive a piece of software that's been designed and coded specifically for them. which is obviously the purpose of bespoke software. But our approach really is to wrap up our software in a managed, hosted, and supported environment. And what this actually means, you almost get a COTS-based environment. You get a SaaS environment, if you like, that comes fully managed with KPIs and SLAs, and it actually comes fully supported, again, 24 hours a day, if you like, or normal 9 to 5. But the point being is you get to pick and choose your features. You get to design a digital platform that supports your business, but it gets delivered, managed, and hosted by an organization that has skills or relevant skills and expertise in doing this. As mentioned, we've been doing this for 40 years, so this is what we do. We do to a large number of different customers. So from our experience, having this as a service is really important, because what it means is we do what we're great at, we do what we're experienced in, and you don't have to worry about the risks or the ongoing maintenance or the ongoing management. You don't need to train up your developers, for argument's sake, to support our solution. You can take it as a service, and you can expect that it'll be delivered, working as you expect. I wanted to go into detail in some of our examples and some of our levels of experience. I'll only pick one or two. I'm sure you can read most of them. But the top left-hand corner, one of our major contracts was with the NHS BSA. And this is a really interesting online payments portal which covers every single dentist in all of England and Wales. If you can imagine that, every single dentist in all of England and Wales. And originally, what they were doing in terms of their payments, they were sending checks through the post, they were sending letters in terms of their documentation. When we looked at their scheduling and their forms, there was over 44 million dental forms that they were sending. And so what they wanted was a single online payment engine where they could ultimately, each dentist could sign in, they have their own account, they can manage their payments, their forms, their patient records, if you like. And as such, what we had to deliver was a unique, bespoke piece of software that was specifically for the NHS BSA. And you can see here that the number of payments received is actually £7 million worth of payments every single day. That's how colossal and huge this system is. And once we looked at the cost savings associated with that, it was £13 million a year in cost savings, which is absolutely colossal. And the reason why I use that as a specific example is no cost-based solution could have supported that type of requirement. And I think this really goes back to the reasons why we're seeing software development being used, because a lot of cost-based solutions are fixed into a certain area or a certain market, and if you want to venture outside of those requirements, then you'll find that actually there's a lot of restraint and pushback from the developer or the provider of that cost-based solution. And I think this is a great example as to where software development is being used and how on a large scale it can be used as well. If we look at the bottom right-hand corner, we've developed bed blocking solutions for multiple councils who are currently live as well. And these bed blocking solutions really integrate with a number of different agencies. They integrate with the NHS, they integrate with the local care homes so that they can identify beds or available beds. Once we've identified through automated scheduling those automated beds, people then can select and reserve and pay for those beds as well. Again, this is all done through back-end workflows. It's done through trigger points, so it's all automated. And each people will get an automated notification, update, your bed's been made available, it's here and it's reserved for X number of days. And here's an update on the patient, their records, and who they are. So, as I was saying, software development is like a tailor-made solution. But actually, from what we've learned, it can save organizations a lot of money. And that's really the crux and the reasons why software development is being used. Furthermore, we know that software development fits an organization much better. As I was saying before, it's designed and tailored around your requirements. And most importantly, software development lasts a business longer. Sometimes people buy a COTS-based solution for an immediate requirement, and we find that in 2 or 3 years' time, that COTS-based solution will get ripped out and replaced. Well, actually, software development being a flexible digital platform, as I was saying before, is not a one-off. It's not a small piece of application. It actually is designed to support the business as you grow, and hence why software development lasts longer. Finally, we personally believe that every organization needs to review or consider software-based solutions. We appreciate that there's lots of COTS-based solutions out there, but it really is something that we personally believe that every organization needs to review. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Simon. That was excellent. We've had lots of questions come through. I'll try and get through as many as we can. From the top, what is the most common type of software solutions you design?
I think a lot of the most common types of software that we do are online portals with some form of back-end database or CRM. A lot of the projects that we get given come in the form of a customer journey. So they will say that their customer currently tries to go through a claims management, but then it ends there, and they want more integration or more levels of customer service. So lots of the most common type of software solutions are some form of front-end portals, front-end application, and then there'll be some back-end, either document management system or a back-end CRM system, or something like that to facilitate a specific requirement.
Okay, thanks. We've had this one a couple of times in different forms. So do you have templated software or modules?
Yeah, so this is one of the major benefits, I suppose, when looking at an organization like Capita IBS. We've found that a lot of different organizations in the industry use code from scratch, if you like, and that causes a lot of risks and problems through the implementation. So we have a number of templated applications that we can ultimately pull off the shelf and use as part of the implementation. The coding is pre-tested. They have their own development and roadmap, if you like. They have support and KPI structure for that templated baseline, if you like. And what that means is, actually, when you take a look at the level of coding, 50 to 60% of it is actually templated and already tried and tested and used many times before. So what that ultimately means is we have a hybrid approach. We work with organizations to set up 50% of it in a COTS-based pre-packaged coding, and then the remaining 50% is what we do as software development or software coding. So yeah, everything that we do is pre-packaged and modular basis.
Great. This one says, how quickly can you implement solutions when based against COTS solutions? Okay, well, this is quite a tricky question to answer, because naturally we need to look at the size and the scope of the implementations. But one thing that we've learned is actually we're not too far behind a COTS-based application, and this again is because we used templated coding or modules, if you like, that are pre-packaged. So there's a recent example, I won't mention the customer name, but we're looking to compete with 3 other well-known COTS-based providers for an online document management system. The reason why they're looking to work with us is because within the photos, we can use software development to search for specific content, text and photos, if you like. That's why we're going for the business. But the point I'm trying to make is our development and implementation time for that piece of application is 4 months. What we've learned is other COTS-based solutions are around 2 to 3 months. So actually, we're not too far behind, and that's, again, because we use pre-packaged components that we can pull off the shelf and we can install pretty much straight away. Brilliant. This one says, what happens if we already have an in-house software development? Yeah, so this is, again, a really major benefit when we look at software development. So if you have existing developers in-house, in software coding, if you like, what we can do is, the whole concept of software development is designed to integrate with any form of application or language. It uses open source material, so the core purpose of it is to integrate with any application or any existing team. So if you've got a different team that uses Microsoft services or .NET services or any type of coding language, if you like, that's absolutely fine, because the whole purpose behind software development or bespoke services is that it's enabler to integrate with different systems, different languages and different forms of coding.
And again, that's a really big question why organizations tend to use software development rather than COTS-based solutions, because software development is, in its nature, designed to interact and integrate with any type of application, cloud environment. It's completely database agnostic, if you like. It's completely technology agnostic. So it can integrate with any language and any form of application.
That's brilliant. I think we've had that question again. Are there any systems you find it difficult to work with? But I think you've answered that.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Great. So how is your software costed? I don't know whether you want to answer this in that way. Is it upfront or is it price per user?
Yeah, so I think, again, one of the reasons why we see software development being used in the market is because it's a piece of software that's designed and developed by an organization. And what that means is we actually have full control over how it's priced. So some organizations will come to us and they'll say, we've got X amount of budget up front, that's all we've got. Some organizations will say, we don't have any budget up front, but what we do have is X amount per year. So we can actually commercialize our software over long-term contracts, over a one-off period. We can actually price it up as a price per user, which is probably the most common way that we would commercialize any solution. And as a great example, we can put in place a kind of document management system with customer service interactions, and it'll come out at a specific price per user, no upfront fee, and again, you get that in a managed and a hosted and a supported environment, just like a standard COTS-based solution.
Fantastic. We've got quite a few other questions coming in. I don't know whether we'll be able to take them all today, but are you okay to keep going for this?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, so does your software come with any SLAs or performance KPIs?
Yeah, again, so this is a really big reasons why organizations, if they are looking at software development, as a minimum criteria, they need to look at organizations who have a structured managed services agreement to support the piece of application. The reasons why we say this is because we see a lot of large organizations using small businesses who are in their right experts in software development, but what happens is they will design a single piece of application and then for the future of that application it becomes difficult to support, difficult to manage. The organization themselves have to end up taking on some form of responsibility to manage and maintain it, and it just becomes a real burden on the business, and ultimately it leads to a number of senior directors really questioning why they went with that original choice in the first place. Even though that software may meet a number of niche requirements that COTS-based solutions can, it becomes just a burden for a business. So one of the major recommendations that we have is to use software companies that have structured SLAs and KPIs as part of their managed service. So for argument's sake, performance metrics, uptime metrics, availability metrics. Also, when we look at our services, which comes with change management and support, what are the change management, what is the change management and how many changes can I have? Is it all inclusive or are there extra costs? With CAPTA IBS or SIBS, this is all included. So you get full change management, full support and full management. But some other organizations may not choose to do that, and as such you definitely need to look at the risks associated with either you managing it yourselves or going with an organization who delivers it in a SaaS environment.
Right. Okay, so the next one we'll go for is, what is your software development methodology? I think we might cover quite a lot of that.
Yeah, so just to quickly touch on this particular area, so it's quite interesting. Within software development, there's a lot of different types of methodologies. Some are what we call a waterfall approach, which is a fixed price contract. And some are actually in an agile approach, whereby you don't necessarily have a fixed price contract. What you do is you work in agile sprints, or scrums if you like. And what that means is the waterfall contract is a fixed price contract up front, and you outline the specification and you agree a price up front for it. And agile is where you do the opposite. You actually work on a 2-week or a monthly sprint, and you design and develop and test and trial a small part of the solution, and then you go through different stages until it becomes completion. The problem with both those solutions is that they really are types of development methodologies, is that they have major benefits and they have major concerns and clauses as well. So for argument's sake, agile, there's no real end to the software development. What happens if they go on hugely longer than expected, and they're 60–70% as part of the software. No organization is going to pull the plug because they know they've invested so much time in that software development that they will keep going. And again, this causes huge reasons why software projects fail, because they've gone down an agile approach where it's an endless amount of development until it's completed. And it's very similar to the waterfall method that I mentioned before, which is you go into a tailor-made suit, you give them a specification, you try and pick it up 2 weeks later, and it's not right, but you've already paid for it. So what we do is we have a hybrid approach where we work with organizations to outline and define a waterfall approach to fixed price contract. So through our consultancy, we will identify the scope of works, what it looks like, how it will look and feel, and then we provide a price for that fixed price work, and then we will commence the work. Now, what's really, really important is what we also do. We will design and develop the piece of software in an agile sprint and very much interactive with yourself. So what that means is we will actually design and develop the piece of software with yourself on site, and we'll actually go through levels of testing with yourself to make sure that you're comfortable with the piece of software that we design and develop. There's no extra cost for those extra days, for argument's sake, so if it takes us longer to tweak and to make the piece of software as needed, that's part of that fixed price cost.
Okay, I think we've got time for a couple more. So for this one, what comes with your software managed services?
So as I was saying before, our software managed services comes with inclusive of hosting, it comes with full support structure, and it also comes with full change management as well. So there's different levels of managed services that customers can take. Some are, I suppose, reactive, some are proactive, some are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or some are just standard 9 to 5. And also they can take various levels of managed services as well. As I was saying, they can take support, and therefore we do not manage it ongoing. Or sometimes we can provide full ongoing management, ongoing daily change management, and we can also provide the ongoing support as well. So it just depends on different organizations. Some of the large organizations, they have their own in-house development team. So ultimately what they want to do is to design the piece of software and then hand it over. For some smaller ones, they ultimately just want us to deliver a single piece of software, deliver it as a COTS-based solution in a managed and supported environment, and we completely take on the ownership. And so it really depends what type of software and what your requirements is, but ultimately we can deliver everything from complete ownership and responsibility to just designing the software and handing it over.
Great. So I think maybe we'll have, do we have time? We don't have time for any more questions at the moment. Any ones that we haven't managed to answer, we will send you directly an email and make sure that everything's been covered today. We just had an awful lot of extra questions through, and I think Simon's feeling rather tired after speaking for so long. But thank you very much indeed for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.